Hi, this is Willie from Arcadeusa, and you're watching Retro Game Lounge. Mr. Hanky!
Willie from Arcadeusa is here in Retro Game Lounge, on Retro Game Lounge, co-host of Dirt Flicks, man. Together we make up one half of Dirt Flicks. We're missing the other two guys, but you know what? That doesn't matter, because we're not here to talk about crappy movies. We're here to talk about awesome arcade games. That's why I brought in the expert.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Arcade games.
Yes, we're going to keep this one a topical video, man. Just kind of toss the ball back and forth about three of our fondest arcade memories. Like, not like our greatest, they're in no particular order. We're not saying these are the three greatest, blah, blah, guys. Calm down. It's okay. It's our personal list. As a matter of fact, leave a comment and tell us what your favorite arcade memories are. Like, what sticks out in your mind? What do you remember playing? What were you blown away by when you saw it in your local arcade? I want to hear that stuff. That's why I do this channel. That's why I hang out with guys like Willie. So, without any further ado, we're going to kind of toss the ball back and forth, just talk about three of our greatest arcade memories from when we were young. I'm going to actually ask Willie to start, man. Like, and again, in no discernible order, pick one of your three, man. What do you got?
I'm to say probably Pong.
Wow!
It's fun.
I wasn't even born yet.
It was a very fond memory of mine.
Deep cut.
I think I was maybe five or six when Pong came out.
Wow.
Yeah, and my brother happened to find a Pong machine at a local bar.
Okay.
And he was talking about this game, and I wanted to see it really bad. So he smuggled me into the bar so I could play Pong. I thought that was the greatest thing ever, because I'm in a grown-up establishment with my big brother playing Pong, and nobody said anything.
And people were drinking alcohol.
People were drinking alcohol,
yes.
Having a good old time.
You're sitting at the grown-ups table, bro.
Oh yeah, it was
awesome.
a good time.
Okay. So Pong, all right, approximately what year was that?
1973 or 4.
I don't even think my parents were married yet.
I can't remember.
Maybe. Or maybe just married. Yeah.
My childhood's a blur.
That was way before Jimbo came along, let me tell you.
Dropped on my head a lot.
Okay. So Willie's basically starting, I guess it's basically at the beginning of video games. Like
almost. Space Wars.
Almost, yes. Okay. But we'll call it the beginning of modern video games. Like, that's kind of where the arcade craze, I use that word loosely, kind of started. Yeah. Like, Pong was the first phenomenon. 2 dots on the screen and another one going back and forth.
And we were very entertained by those 2 dots going back and forth on the screen.
Wow. I mean, people call Pac-Man primitive. I'm like, bro, look at Pong.
I still enjoy playing Pong. Just the little things entertains me.
Dude, if it's what you like. I mean, I play a game where a guy with a head with a TV antenna drops bombs on stuff. Like, who am I to criticize anyone? So, one of my fondest arcade memories. That's a really easy one for me. I'm going to go back kind of to the beginning here. I've actually talked about this over on Willie's side of the fence. That's going to be the one and only Double Dragon. Okay, so we rewind a little bit. This is probably 1986, 1987, somewhere in that time frame where Double Dragon's like a thing. And I'm 7 or 8 years old at that point. And I'm visiting Grandma for summer out in Kentucky, and she's got this little store across the store called the Pantry, which is basically like a 7-Eleven or a High's, your typical convenience store. And back then, all of those stores had at least one video game. Like, that's where you find like a Pac-Man or an Outrun or like a Gallagher or something like that. Like, that was just like status quo back then. I mean, that was a guaranteed moneymaker. Some of them even had pinball machines, believe it or not. So I go across the street with my dad. I'm gonna get an icy or some gum or something stupid, kid-related stuff. And then I see they have an arcade game, and I walk over to it, and it's Double Dragon. And I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. Like, my entire video game experience could be summed up with Pac-Man and Galaga at that point, and I am just floored at what is in front of me. Like I didn't even know what a beat 'em up was. That wasn't even a word back then. And I'm just like, this is so rad, because like Karate Kid had just come out. It's like the Chuck Norris craze, so like the whole martial arts thing was at its zenith, American Ninja and stuff. And I'm just like, this is just, the garage comes up, the 2 dudes with the car, do-do-do-do, and I'm like, dude, my 8-year-old mind is just exploding. I'm just like, this is a watershed moment in my life. Like, I even knew it back then. I'm like, I'm gonna remember this when I'm old. I promise. And I still remember it now, so I was right. So I'm like, yanking on Dad's shirt, like, Dad, can I please have a quarter? Please, I need to play this. And he's like, oh, all right. So he gives me a quarter. I last as long as about a virgin on prom night, dude. Like, I don't even make it to the first boss. Like, I'm sure he wiped the floor with me, but I'm, like, literally running home to tell Mother Unit about, like, oh my god, you won't believe what I saw, you won't believe what I did. Like, there's, like, guys fighting, I'm, like, using a stick, and then there's a person with a dynamite and a whip, and, like, I'm using the nunchuck. Like, I was having this grand adventure that lasted probably 2.5 minutes. So, yeah, kind of like prom night. So yeah, that was probably that is the oldest distinct video game memory that I can recall, arcade related at least, where I'm sure I played Pac-Man and Galaga and stuff before that, playing in a Pizza Hut or something. That was probably 99.9% of my generation's first exposure to video games, because Pac-Man was everywhere. But this is the one where it's like, it went from Pac-Man to this. Like this kind of, that jump from like a little thing eating dots on a screen to like dudes fighting. Yeah. Like to like freaking pixel graphics. That's a big jump. Yes. And I was like, this is awesome. Like that to me is where my video game obsession began. I was like reborn into like video game Jesus or something like that, Like yeah, the video game messiah. And then I went on to talk about crappy movies. So, Big Willie style, what's your number 2?
Well, my number 2 is probably going to be Golden Axe.
The first one?
The first one.
Good game.
The first Golden Axe.
We have number 2 downstairs.
The memory I have of playing Golden Axe is when I first started dating my wife, we used to go to the arcade a lot. We'd go out for dinner.
No wonder you married her.
We'd go to the arcade and play games.
I mean, why wouldn't
see
you?
a movie or something like that. But the one game we both got into was Golden Axe. On our very first date, we played Golden Axe at the arcade.
That is rad.
And we played it enough, so much, that we were able to get through the entire game on 1 quarter.
You got that good at it?
Got that good. All the way to the end, to the boss.
Wow, dude.
And to the point to where we actually bought it for the Sega Genesis when it came out.
Of course.
And I can't do it anymore, but my wife, to this day, still can play the Sega Genesis version all the way through the end without dying.
Dude, I own the second arcade game, and I can't even come close to that. And I played it a lot. Wow, your wife is like freaking Lucas from The Wizard.
Yeah, pretty much.
So bad.
She's a savant or something.
So, hey, everyone's good at one thing.
Walking her at 7.
I guess she's found her thing. But yeah, dude, that's... Wow, going to the arcades and like she's in the Golden Axe, yeah, that's a keeper. Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised about that at all. Rock on, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Rock on. Okay, so my number 2, I'm going to go kind of in the left field here, man, but I'm sure a lot of you guys, a lot of you 80s, 90s kids are going to remember this. I know Big Willie Style is going to remember this. This is definitely a landmark game that we were promised was the future, that it absolutely was not. It literally went nowhere, but that's okay, because it was cool. That would be Sega's Time Traveler, the first holographic video game, even though technically it wasn't a real hologram. It was just a trick with mirrors. But it was a really neat trick, so that's all that matters. So, I've talked about it briefly previously on the show when the Game Shark and I were talking about the Sega, like the Night Trap and stuff like that, like the real video games with actors and stuff. We mentioned it. But I remember the first time that I saw that. I went to my local mall, Springfield Mall, where I grew up. And my mall actually had 2 arcades. There was an upstairs arcade and a downstairs arcade. So the upstairs arcade was where like the really big stuff was. Like that's where like Mortal Kombat and like Street Fighter and like the big, motion simulator like Sims, like all those would be upstairs. You got more real estate. But downstairs was just like cabs, like lining the wall, like boom, 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 both sides of the wall. And that's where I first saw Sega Time Traveler. And dude, I had never seen so many people crowded around one video game before. I didn't even know what the hell it was. Like, I mean, it's just a bunch of people, like, staring around this little video game, and all I could see was that it's white, and I'm, like, 10 years old, there's, like, teenagers and stuff, and I'm, like, standing on my tiptoes, like, trying to see it, and I finally get a peek, and I'm like, oh my god, I was like, dude, that's a hologram. I was like, it doesn't even have a TV. I was like, this is the future, man. Like, the games are gonna be real, and there's, like, real actors and stuff, and I'm, like, running through this, like, fictional scenario in my mind, like, some type of video game John Connor, and, yeah, and none of that happened at all. Ever. No, it peaked on the Sega Genesis with like Night Trap, and that's where it ended. But really cool game. It basically had a Laserdisc player in the bottom of it, and I actually saw someone take a picture of someone who took it apart, so you could see how it actually works. It was literally just a projector going through this filter and bouncing off a mirror. So it's the kind of thing that a magician would use on a stage show to kind of misdirect. Not really that sophisticated when you think about it. I mean, as far as the magic trick is concerned, but I mean, a Laserdisc, yeah, like it started with Dragon's Lair, and this was kind of at the end of Laserdisc. Like it was this and Mad Dog McCree were kind of, that was like the outliers of it. Then we decided like, yeah, we don't want to do this anymore. Let's go back to pixel graphics because those are way more awesome. And those took back over. So didn't last very long. You would have thought that it took off, but
Nope.
no. I mean, like you could argue the Mortal Kombat thing that had real actors in it, but other than that, no. It kind of went back to regular, CG rendered graphics. So that's my number 2, and I'll let you decide if that's a euphemism. It could be.
It could be.
So, Big Willie style, what is your number 3? What are you going to close it out with? You better swing big with this one, dude.
Okay, I think this is a good one.
Okay.
I would think the wife one was probably the best one of the 3. I should say that to last.
That's a good story.
But this is actually pretty good.
Okay.
Back in 1977,
Okay.
there was a movie that came out called Star Wars.
Oh, I remember that. Well, I wasn't alive then, but I do remember it.
I was 10 when it came out. My brother took me to see it at a local movie theater. It's called the Indiana Theater. It's in Terre Haute, Indiana. The theater is still there. It's got the biggest screen I have ever seen.
Yeah?
And they had all the surround sound stuff going on. It was a great place to see Star Wars. But that made me a real Star Wars enthusiast,
Okay.
as you could say.
Okay.
But also, shortly after that, 78, 79, I started working down at the local arcade.
Wow. I didn't know that.
My dad was friends with the arcade owner.
Okay.
And I had been taking an interest in electronics.
Okay.
So he would take me down there to watch them repairing monitors and boards and things like that, just to keep me interested in it. And I can't remember, I think it was in the early 80s when the Star Wars arcade game came out.
Yeah.
But my dad's friend knew that I was a Star Wars nut, basically.
Okay.
So he got that game in, but
Yeah.
he did not put it on the floor, even open it out of the box, until the weekend where I came in.
Uh-oh.
He said, I want you to unwrap this game and put it on the floor for me.
Oh, dude.
So I unwrapped it, of course, Star Wars Arcade. So I sat there for the first hour before the arcade opened, playing that game.
You must have been in heaven.
I was.
Yeah?
I absolutely loved that game.
This is the one with the
yoke?
This? Yeah, with that? Okay, yeah, I've seen this before.
That kind of stuff.
Very, very valuable game to this day.
Oh, yeah. I
Does
would
go
love
for a
to
lot of
have
money.
one.
Would you say that's one of your favorite arcade games?
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's a good one.
Yep, I'm just biding my time to rent a U-Haul out in Phoenix and go by John's house and just load up in the back and take off with it.
I'm fine with that.
I keep threatening him I'm going to do that.
But I don't allegedly know anything about that. Sorry, Games Radio 1. And you can't hide it here, sorry. I don't have a room. So, sorry about that. So, I went kind of semi-obscure with the second one, man. I'm going to go even more obscure with number 3. And this is a game that I never even got to play. Seriously, I regret it to this day. This was the first $1 video game. $1 per play video game that I ever saw. That was a big deal back then. Like, getting to 50 cents was a big jump. Getting to 75, like on Time Traveler that was even bigger than, like, dude, this is a whole dollar. When you've only got like a couple dollars worth of quarters in your pocket, that's a big commitment. That's like 4 less tries on Street Fighter. So, anyways, this is a Sega game called Galaxy Force 2. And this was more than a game. Like, Sega was really big into like the cockpit style stuff, like Afterburner, like G-Lock and stuff like that. Like, they were really really into that style of video game, where it was almost like it kind of bridged the gap between video game and like ride. It was like kind of like a little bit of both. And this one just took it to a whole other freaking level. This was at the upstairs timeout, again, same arcade, Springfield Mall timeout, where all the big stuff was. And they had it over in this little spot, like right near where one of the entrances was. And I remember seeing it for the first time. This was like the largest video game machine I'd ever seen. Like, it had ropes around it and stuff like that. And you basically just sit in the middle of it, and you're sitting on this big, giant, hydraulic kind of gimbal, almost, that they'd use for something in Hollywood. And it's your typical, like, space shooter, third-person kind of stuff. You're just blasting through space, mowing people down, and the whole thing's, like, ripping and rocking and stuff like that. And I'm just sitting there watching this guy play it, and I'm like, dude, this is the future of video games. Again, Sega tried again, but again, they were wrong. So, no, it's not the future of video games. But Definitely a cool game. I would love to have one of those, even though it's completely impractical because it would take up so much space. But damn, would that be an awesome amount of space. I mean, that would be cool. People were like, okay, no one else has one of these. So yeah, it took us a while to actually figure out what the name of the game was. We had to like scour Google to figure it out because I could see it, but I didn't remember the name. Because again, I never actually got to play it. This is actually a really terrible memory because like I didn't actually get to play it. But it's okay. This is something that I distinctly remember, and that's okay. So, that about wraps up 3 epic arcade memories. Special thanks to my most excellent guest, the one and only Willie from Arcadeusa, for hanging out with me talking arcade games. This is something I would do even if the camera wasn't rolling. Because, like, I love doing that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And he knows a lot about that, and I know a little bit about that, enough to be dangerous. So, yeah, like, we can talk arcade games all day. So, maybe, if I can get Willie to come up here again, because we're about 5 hours away, maybe we can do 3 more arcade memories next time. Maybe. If you guys leave us enough comments, sacrifice enough goats and stuff like that, you know. Yeah, leave us enough comments. No, seriously, leave us comments. Tell us what are some of your favorite arcade memories. Like, what sticks out from your childhood? Like, what was one game that just blew your mind the first time you saw it? We were like, oh my god, this is amazing. Yeah, tell us about that. That is the kind of things we want to hear about. And I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Did you get a different couch?
No.
Is this the one you've always used?
Yeah.
I don't remember being so small last time I was here. I think I've gotten bigger.
Have you?
Yeah.
Maybe it's me. It's just a fucking diesel that you're like... Just freaking 6'2", 248 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal! Woo!